Now, even though Sumer gets the credit for the rebus principle, Egypt gets credit for something else, the consonantal alphabet, or Abjad, which means writing with only consonants, no vowels, and is seen in the Semitic languages of both Arabic and Hebrew. As Professor Fischer put it, in hieroglyphs, the frequent use of 26 uniconsonantal signs, each conveying only one consonant, was the most remarkable innovation of ancient Egyptian scribes. This was the world's first alphabet, even though it did not include any vowels, and the consonantal signs were not set apart from all the other signs. Then by around 2000 BCE, this Egyptian alphabet generated various Semitic proto-alphabets in the Sinai and Levant regions. And from here, we're on track to see the evolution of the English alphabet. In this graphic, we can see the Sumerian and Egyptian scripts separated by a question mark to address the debate whether the Egyptian script came from the Sumerians or not. Next, we can see that one of these proto-alphabets was the Proto-Sinaitic script. Then around 1000 BCE, this script was taken by the Phoenicians, adapted to fit their syllabaries, probably from languages using the cuneiform script, and simplified down to 22 symbols, still only using consonants. Then around 800 BCE, the Greeks borrowed the Phoenician script and added vowels. Shortly after this, the Etruscans of northern Italy borrowed the Greek script. Then quickly after that, the Romans borrowed the Etruscan script, and we call this the Roman or Latin script. And finally, the languages of the modern West, like English, use the Latin script for their languages today. And there's three important detours we need to make for the sake of discussing Western civilization. First is around 200 CE. The Germanic languages outside the Roman Empire borrowed the Latin script and created their own script, which we call runes or runic script. Then, after the fall of Rome in the 5th century CE, early medieval societies were spreading Christianity into these Germanic regions and using a new version of the Latin script, which we use today, and soon enough it replaced the runic script. For the English language specifically, even though the use of both scripts lasted side by side for a while, the new Latin script really started to take over after the Battle of Hastings in the 11th century CE. The second detour is around 900 CE, when a lot of Eastern European languages borrowed the Greek script to write their languages, like Bulgarian, Ukrainian, and even Russian. This is called the Cyrillic script and is still used today. And lastly, the Hebrew and Arabic languages borrowed their script from the Aramaeans. You may not be familiar with the Aramaic language, but it was the supposed language of Jesus. And as you can see, the Aramaeans borrowed their scripts from the Phoenicians' Abjad, and both Hebrew and Arabic are still Abjads today. Now, it's obvious that writing is important. You don't need me to tell you that. And I'm sure we could come up with dozens upon dozens of great answers to that question. But there's one larger point I want to make as we look at writing through a historical lens. The invention of writing gave birth to history and allowed knowledge in all fields of study to flourish beyond the point of oral history. It was a major evolutionary step in humankind. Writing wasn't invented for the sake of writing, rather it was invented to efficiently preserve and disseminate information across the ages. And even though writing isn't necessary for a thriving society to exist, as scholars have seen in both the Inca and Cherokee societies, advancements become stagnant without it, and much of its wisdom and culture are lost. So writing is definitely a technology worth preserving and disseminating once attained. Now, let's take a second to zoom out and think about where we are in the history of writing as it pertains to the preservation and dissemination of information from a Western civilization perspective. It took about 1,000 years, from 3500 to 2500 BCE, to develop and transfer roughly 2,000 pictograms into a full-fledged writing system of about 800 symbols, yet it was still complex and clunky. So it took another 1,500 years to further simplify these symbols into the 22 symbols of the Phoenician Abjad. From here, this simplified script has only needed slight adjustments to accommodate subsequent languages. There seems to be no need to advance beyond the phonetic alphabet, and that's an important observation. For the next 2,500 years, anything deemed worth knowing according to those who could write wrote down what they could, and others would copy some of those thoughts again and again by hand, securing enough knowledge to take us to our next evolutionary steps in preserving and disseminating information, which were the inventions of the printing press of the 15th century and the internet of the 20th century. And yes, I skipped over photography, audio and video recordings, and computers because the internet incorporates all those advancements, all of which happened in roughly a 150-year span, a very short amount of time compared to when history began. So it took just roughly 5,500 years to get from no writing to reading anything at any time from anywhere in the world. It's instantaneous now. I know there's restrictions here and there, and of course quality issues, but the one thing I'm highlighting is that humans finally possess the ability to access information instantaneously. Which raises the question, and this is my main point. In regards to writing and its initial goal to efficiently preserve and disseminate information, are we at the end of history? Which means we can't advance any further. If the internet can preserve and disseminate information instantaneously, how can we advance beyond that? Or have we reached the end of history? And are we in a state of maintenance now? I'm going to let that question linger in the air for a while, and in a few weeks I'll put my thoughts in the comment section. But in the meantime, what do you think? I'd love to hear your thoughts, so please put them in the comments. The end of history is a useful idea, and I encourage all of you to apply it to any historical topic and see what comes to mind. I like it because it challenges us to look at a topic in its historical arc from beginning to present, so we can more effectively identify where we could go and where we should go from here. It's a powerful thinking exercise for innovation. So that's it, our third date, 30th century BCE writing is invented. Only 50 dates to go. If you have any questions or know a lot already, in the comment section, please post anything you think is essential to understanding this century or this topic. If you're adding new information, please cite your sources. I'll be monitoring what's going on, and in my conclusion videos for this project, I'll highlight how we've expanded its historiography and list any questions that seem to be left unanswered. At that point, we'll have a stronger foundation for my next project and all future projects. And of course, if you're an expert and you want to share your knowledge to help guide us, please feel free to join the conversation. Or if you're interested, I'd love to interview you and post it right here. So contact me. If you just found me for the first time and are curious what this is all about, go check out my intro videos to both this project and this channel. And as always, subscribe, like, donate some money to keep this show going, click the notification so you know when the next video is up, and I'll see you then.